Have you ever just watched somebody sit across from the very embodiment of the American dream? A man who literally went from poverty to a multimillionaire, but instead of them just shutting up, taking notes, and soaking up all of the wisdom that's sitting right there in front of them, they decide to whine and interrupt and throw a whole pity party. I mean, an entire orangutan meltdown if I've ever seen it. So here's what we're going to do today. I need y'all to buckle up because today I'm going to be dissecting the loser mentality of the left on top of just how insufferable it is to engage with these people. And trust me, it is not pretty. So let's get into this. Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I am your host, April Chapman, and today we're going to be breaking down this showdown that Patrick Bet-David had in a recent debate where 20 liberals circled up for a round robin. And this one particular exchange, it stood out to me, not because of the brilliance of the argument, but because of the sheer envy, the entitlement, the mediocrity on display. A good friend of mine shared it on Facebook. Shout out to you, Keith. I'm so grateful for your friendship, and I'm glad that you shared this because I said this would be the perfect opportunity for me to react to something like this. Now, I'm going to actually do a live play-by-play reaction, but let me first set the scene for you. Patrick Bet-David, who's an immigrant, who is self-made, built the valuetainment media empire into this behemoth to be reckoned with. I mean, he did this after already crushing it in the insurance industry. And Patrick Bet-David, he is sitting down across from this young liberal woman. And instead of, and I get it, it was a debate, but listen, maybe I'm just a fangirl like that. I don't know. But instead of saying, well, hey, Patrick, what was the blueprint for you that caused you to have such a favorable view of capitalism? This whole conversation was framed against capitalism. So it was 20 liberals against the capitalists. And basically it was an opportunity for them to debate, at least I thought, debate ideas. So you would think that she would say, okay, well, what was the mindset that took you from poverty to prosperity? Why is it that you are a capitalist? Instead of her doing that, this woman went full orangutan, okay? Unhinged, illogical, very rude, and incredibly disrespectful. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. And before I play it, she opens up by first accusing Patrick of being an elite who has no business telling average Americans about poverty. So let's go ahead and play the clip.
How are you?
Good.
Grace?
Yes, Grace.
Good to meet you.
Hi. I want to say that I think it's pretty comical that an elite such as yourself has the gall to tell us average Americans who's in poverty and who's not. A lot of times,
I was an average American.
You're not
I was
anymore.
a guy that was in poverty.
You're not anymore.
And you can also change. You can also change.
Anyways,
Do you believe
you're talking
you can change?
down. A lot of times that the market for poverty is actually very low. So a lot of times like $2 a day is the line for how they measure poverty.
$2.15, yeah.
And that's ridiculous. So if I make $5 a day, I'm not in poverty.
But that's because
I can actually live. I can pay the rent.
Sure.
But we're talking about this country, right? We're not talking about around the world. I've noticed that you like to do that. You like to skirt from America and talk about other countries
I've been
to try to make it look like we're better, but we're actually getting worse.
America's the greatest country in the world.
Okay, first let me stop it because first what I did want to comment and highlight how Patrick is incredibly patient. And he responds to this discussion about poverty by just calmly saying, I was an average American. So her issue is that, you're an elite and us average Americans, you don't know what it's like to be that. And he's like, no, that's not true. I grew up in poverty. I've lived it. And I also realized that that experience is part of what makes me what I am today. It changed my life. And she just keeps yapping. She's yapping. She's being very dismissive. She continues to interrupt. He's yet to really flesh out a complete thought yet. She is refusing to hear, in my opinion, the one thing that could actually help her escape this cycle of victimhood that she is in. But I wanted to highlight that when you are engaging in a discussion with these liberals, they emote a lot. They are not interested in having an exchange, a healthy exchange of ideas. What they want to do is emote because, to be honest, they actually are very envious of you. They are envious and they hold this contempt in their heart toward others who are successful and who have done well. It doesn't matter that you grew up in poverty. It doesn't matter that you know what it's like to be on the other side of the discussion. It's irrelevant because the entire worldview that undergirds their position is a foundation of envy, jealousy, covetousness, and inadequacy. But let's continue.
Anyways, it's the greatest country. We are at the highest that we've ever been with homelessness since we started collecting
Why
data.
Why is that? Ask you, are you from California?
We haven't had a pay raise since
California?
2009.
Do you live
Our
here?
minimum wage nationally is $7.25.
Okay.
And you wonder why we have the highest poverty rate. You think that capitalism's winning? Can you survive? Would you like to live off $7.25
I used to work for $4.25 at Haagen-Dazs.
Right.
Then I
and
went
that was
and
a very
worked
different
at
time.
Burger King for $4.75.
And how much do you make now?
Then I make millions today. Then
right,
I worked
and that's
at
why
Bob's
you like
Big
capitalism,
Boy.
because we're not all making that.
But
and
the
that's
difference
my point.
is, but the difference between
critiquing the people in poverty and saying you should work harder. You should work. You can be me. We can't all be it.
Okay, I want to stop it there because first, this is what I call meddling in mediocrity. So this young woman here, she is a liberal. She self-identifies as a progressive. And I noticed that she spends a lot of time. Liberals love to shame successful people because, one, it exposes their own laziness and envy. I am a Christian, and so obviously my Christian worldview teaches me that you should not covet. You don't steal from other people or a man who has more than you, and nor are you allowed to demand his success. You don't envy what someone else has built, but this is what we're getting from her. I'm getting a lot of envy. But here's why I can't. Even when I was liberal leaning, I just can't be a Democrat. Because Democrats always flip the script. They'll preach to you that in order for you to be happy, someone else must give you what they earned. And even as a liberal, I was like, wait a minute. No. I've worked by the sweat of my brow. That's not justice. That's theft dressed up in social justice drag. I never could understand how you could shame someone who built themselves up from nothing. I never could understand that. Even growing up in a Democrat household, I have always admired Donald Trump, the businessman, the entrepreneur. I mean, I was fascinated him from the time I was 5 years old, and I learned so much of my business prowess and just the desire to want to be an entrepreneur. That actually came from Donald Trump. I grew up in New York, so obviously I was exposed to the Trump mystique way back when, before y'all were taught to hate him. But anywho, I noticed she said something in this exchange that was masterfully honest. She said, "Everybody can't be you." And I said, if that is not the most truth that she has probably spoken this entire exchange, she hit it right there on the head. But let them talk some more, and then we're going to come back and engage.
hope is that you believe you can change and improve, that you believe you can upgrade yourself. That's my belief.
You know what? That's what rich people like you want to keep telling us.
But
you can be just like me. Do you want to be like me? If you work hard enough,
I'm not
you can
saying
be like
that.
me. It's not very realistic.
It's actually, you wouldn't be able to be like me because
You're
you wouldn't work that
talking down to
hard.
people like
Would you
us.
work that hard?
You don't.
Would you,
I'm not going to tell you. I don't have to answer that.
If you don't
I don't
choose
have to measure my I don't have to measure my work ethic to be worthy.
You don't have to. Then you can't be upset for others who do so. You can't be upset
for people who are struggling.
No, because they work harder than you.
And that's what's wrong with capitalism, because
but
you
go back
think
to the
that
homelessness.
you have to work so hard.
Do you live in the state of California?
I do.
Okay, you said homelessness.
Yes.
What do you think about your Governor Newsom? What do you think about him?
I don't like him. I'm a progressive. He doesn't do enough for the people.
Do you know when he
takes corporate money.
Fantastic.
He takes money from people like
when
you.
He was,
he's not
I've never given him money. But do you know when he first became a governor,
surprise, but
I would never give him money. But when he became a governor first, from then till today, he's raised the amount of homelessness in this state by 36,000 people.
Okay, I don't like the guy, but he's not at fault for homelessness. People like you are. Billionaires like you are the problem.
Gave him 24 billion. Taxpayers.
I believe it.
Gave
I don't
him
like that guy.
$24 billion, and he didn't do nothing with it.
Vote him out. Vote him out.
You vote him out. You have him. It's not that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not here to defend Newsom.
You can
go.
But
you're not much different than him. That's all I'm saying. You're in the same class.
But you're sitting here blaming a person who's changed their lives for the better, and it's their fault. My dad was.
This is not the United States of Patrick Bed.
Okay, so I need to jump in a little bit because there was a lot to work with here. So she moves on. It sounds like she's trying to root her argument, her rage, and her covetousness in this virtuistic appeal and concern about the homeless, right? So she moves on with this lecture to lecture him about homelessness, right? But then she refuses to engage with anything that Patrick is actually saying here. Like, no one is arguing that homelessness is not high. But when Patrick attempts to engage her in an actual discussion as to, well, what has caused the high rate of homelessness, particularly in the state of California where she's in, she refuses to acknowledge the truth claim that under Newsom's leadership, homelessness has skyrocketed because of his leftist progressive policies. It's almost like these people are brain dead, right? Like they struggle to think in proper categories. She'll agree, well, yes, I don't like him, but she doesn't like Newsom because she equates PBD and Newsom, the money. That's what she's drawing these conclusions. But if you listen intently to what she is saying, it is very difficult to follow the line or the level of logic and reasoning because, well, one, she's not really making a lot of sense, but because she is so blinded by her hatred, her and people like her, they're blinded by hatred and envy and covetousness that they can't even recognize a self-evident truth when it's staring them in the face. And what they'll do is they'll make these illogical leaps and draw conclusions that don't even make sense. To say that, well, I don't like Newsom because he doesn't do anything for the people. But then at the same time, she doesn't want to blame him for the homelessness problem and only wants to have negative aggression or a poor view of Newsom because he has money. And then she says, well, he's just like you and he takes money from people like you. And he's like, I've never given. She doesn't understand that this is a worldview issue. She thinks that all people with money think the exact same way. And therefore, it is the money that is their problem. At least that's the conclusion that I'm coming to. But I want to let her finish this out. And then I'm going to wrap up and finalize my commentary.
Do
you know
this
where
is the United States of America?
I know, and I'm
all
so
of our
grateful
people.
to be here. I'm
and you
so
say
grateful
that,
to
but are
be
you
here.
willing to pay more taxes
I
so
am
that
so
other people don't
grateful to
suffer?
be here.
Are you willing to pay more taxes so other people don't suffer?
I am so grateful to be here.
I see you're skirting the question. You're not willing.
My dad was a cashier in Inglewood at a 99-cent store. We had nothing. No, I don't tell you that's great. We had nothing.
Well, I'm the guy that had
I'm the guy that had
the propaganda that you guys, so you can be like me.
But what you don't want to hear is that because it's the truth.
We
Can I ask you a question?
Be like you.
When's the last time you read a business book? When's the last time you read a self-help book?
I don't need to answer that.
When's the last time you read a self-help?
I wrote a self-help book. I'm a writer. I'm a creative.
Tell me what self-help book you read.
I'm not.
Give
I don't
me one.
Need to.
Give me one you read. Are you willing to take one recommendation
No.
You're not.
Not for me.
Then I can't help you.
That's okay. I don't need your help. I didn't come here for your help. I came here to debate you. Good.
Awesome.
Okay. So she's like, I don't need your help. Listen, trust me, sis. You absolutely need PBD's help. But I don't know. I don't even know if PBD can help her. Anyway, listen, there are a few points that I want to engage with. So before it started going left, I wanted to point out that the progressive left are so blinded. They are so blinded by their own hatred and envy and covetousness that they can't even recognize, like I said, the self-evident truths when it's staring them right in the face. So her argument at one point is that we need to give people more money in the form of a pay raise, right? She started talking about the minimum wage. Yet the minimum wage has been increased in California upwards to, if I'm not mistaken, it said like $20 an hour. And the rate of homelessness has increased. And she does not, she doesn't understand capitalism. There's a lot about the way the world works that she doesn't understand. But because of that, the fact that you think that you can make a livable wage when there's no such thing as you can't just give everyone a livable wage. What you need to realize and understand that you are paid in direct proportion to the value that you add to the marketplace. And so if you flip burgers, you should not earn the same amount as the CEO. You're not adding enough value to command that much money. But what she's not understanding is that increasing the minimum wage, and because of all of the other anti-capitalistic policies that make it difficult to grow an economy, is why homelessness is a problem in California. You can't grow an economy if the cost of doing business is too high. You can't grow an economy if the climate change activists are always more interested in their Save the Planet initiatives than they are developing trade and industry. Do you know, out of this entire exchange, the part that I really liked the most, I really liked the part when she said, we all can't be like you. I loved it. I actually clapped when I heard that. Do you want to know why? That was the most impactful truth claim out of this entire exchange. This is why I hate DEI. It's because the only people who are pro-DEI are those who don't have it in them to compete. They ain't got it in them. They are woefully inadequate, and we agree. They don't measure up. They are too weak-minded. They are lazy, and they are unwilling to put in the time. They are too inept to develop the skill and the tenacity needed to go out here and get it like the rest of us. They have no drive. They want the easy path. That's why I call them lazy and entitled. They want to sleep late and sip on a latte all day. And then they want to lecture you about how hard life is when they have not lifted a finger all day. Not a day in their life they've lifted a finger to accomplish anything meaningful, because all they do is take. They just take. They don't innovate. They don't build. They are social leeches that take and never give. They're just a bunch of thieves to sit here and tell this man, a self-made man, that are you willing to pay more taxes? What? First of all, I need you to get out of his pockets like that. How rude and disrespectful. This woman is sitting here telling Patrick Bet-David about how he basically needs to let her steal from him so that she can make up for where she lacks in her inadequacy, her lack of effort, will, and drive to achieve or attain whatever it is that she thinks she deserves. I hope you understand this, that what she's actually arguing is stealing. These are the people that are freaking out. These are the same people. These are the ones that crash out when they get to the Starbucks and there's no more caramel ribbon crunch. They don't know what to, well, actually, that was a bad example because that might actually be me. Y'all actually freaked out once when I stood in a whole line only to get up to the cashier for them to tell me that they were out of caramel ribbon crunch. Now, granted, I could have accepted personal responsibility for that and checked on the app. And normally on the app, they'll say when it's sold out. But anyway, I did have a mini crash out. But the point is, you see, these are first world problems of convenience and opulence. The fact that people are crashing out because their favorite latte or blended beverage drink is not available on the menu. That is this woman. She is so blinded, not only by her inadequacy and her lack of gratitude of living in the greatest country that is America, she can't even see the blessing of having a Starbucks where she can go and buy a caramel ribbon crunch. Can you believe the audacity? They're like a bunch of petulant children that sit and eat up your food, put their funky little grubby feet on your sofa, and then demand that you are not doing more for them. I want to go back to something she said about the federal minimum wage only being about $7.25 an hour. She talks about that, and then she tries to trap Patrick by asking if he'd live on that. And he responds with saying, well, actually, I worked for $4.25 at a Haagen-Dazs and $4.75 at the Burger King. And I don't make that no more. Today, I make millions. He's trying to prove a point that minimum wage wasn't his ceiling. It was his starting point, and that it required a combination of other things to add to the will to succeed in order to get to where he is now. Patrick was literally at the end of this. He was literally giving this chick the cheat code. Like, he asked her, how many books have you read? And she's like, well, I write self-help books and I'm a creative. And I'm like, yeah, you ain't got no job. Basically, she ain't got no job. But he was literally handing her the cheat code to life. He was explaining that this is a mindset problem. Your mindset is an issue and you're going to need some hard work. But she refused to listen. All she wanted to do was complain and castigate him for having achieved. This is why I say, not everyone can do it. Not everyone. She is right. Not everyone can be Patrick Bet-David. You are absolutely right. Some people are too busy perfecting their victim resume, right? She could have walked away with a free masterclass, but she chose to spit in the face of wisdom. And this is why we see so many young people today adopting. This is the loser mentality of the left. They are lazy. They are incredibly lazy. They are envious, covetous, entitled, all of the things. And guess what? They are the perpetual victim. And because they are perpetual victims, they can never be trusted. They'll never be satisfied because they will sell you out. The moment that you succeed, it's going to be a problem. As long as you stay at the bottom of the loser totem pole with them, they are happy and fine. And all of them are all crashing out together. I do encourage y'all to watch this whole thing just to see the common thread with these misfits sitting around in a circle. But let me do this. Here is the difference. I want to give you guys some biblical clarity on this. In the Christian worldview, Christianity teaches that all of the fulfillment that you think you need, it is not in stuff. Jesus reminded us in Luke 12 that your life doesn't consist in the abundance of what you possess. But liberals, they are so addicted to the gospel of envy that they measure their worth by what someone else has. So instead of saying, well, how can I grow? How can I glow up? How can I be better? They will spend more time crying that it's not fair because they're covetous. They want what someone else has. Patrick's testimony alone proves the exact opposite. Y'all, Patrick Bet-David came from nothing. He hustled. He believed that he could change the world. And now he's walking in and owning his greatness. And it's not because someone handed it to him, but it's because he earned it. I need you to understand that. Listen, I have seen the valuetainment empire up close, okay? If you guys do not remember, back in November 2024, I had the pleasure of hanging out with the valuetainment family on election night. Y'all, it was amazing. It was friggin' incredible. absolutely incredible. Not just because I was in the room with the who's who of conservative politics. Okay, yes, I am absolutely dry snitching on that. But it was because when I looked around at all that PBD had built and accomplished, and he didn't do it by himself, but I'm talking about just him, the man. All you could do was just sit back and just respect it. I literally looked around and I said, how does an Iranian immigrant accomplish all of this in one generation? And then I said, you know what? It's because this is friggin' America. It's America, like the greatest country on the planet. He was able to do it because this is America. For you to be born here and for you to not acknowledge that or understand that, you deserve to be shipped off somewhere, never to be heard from or seen from again. You want to know why? Because you lack gratitude. You're ungrateful. You're entitled. You're a Marxist maggot and you stink in my nostrils because the way I look at it, I could have been born anywhere else, but the sovereign God of the universe saw fit to place me on this terra firma here in America. Y'all, this is a place where I can dream to be or do anything that I can imagine. And the amazing part is the tools, the resources, and the freedom to accomplish it are literally within my arm's reach. Like I can reach out and touch it. What a blessing that is. But yet you have some who squander that because this country has been hijacked by individuals who hate this country and who believe that communism and Marxism and socialism is better. It's amazing to me. And so when Patrick asked, when was the last time that you read a business book or a self-help book? She snaps back like, I don't need to answer that. Well, of course not. Of course you don't need to answer that because that would require a little humility, something that you are not intimately connected with, okay? That would require her to admit that she doesn't know it all. And pride mixed with envy is the perfect recipe for poverty. That's why she a creative out here talking about, well, I'm a this and she's a loser. I know that is harsh, but you have to call it what it is. You have a whole segment of the population that are just losers and they're mad about it and they need someone to beat up on. This is why the progressive left hates America, because the American way is you have to disavow the attitude of the inadequate. You do. We celebrate success over here. We admire the grind, but the progressive left, they've been discipled by Marxist ideology to resent anyone who is doing better than them. They'd rather burn the house down than to build their own. So I just wanted to react to this compilation. And it's really just Patrick Bet-David engaging with one individual, but he is way nicer than I would have been because he showed patience. I would have just told her, listen, you need to humble down and hush up. That's what I would have said. But they didn't call me, so it's okay. But anyway, here is the takeaway. You don't let losers guilt you out of your success. Okay, there are a whole lot of losers out in the world that come a dime a dozen, especially here on YouTube. But let me tell you something. Don't you ever apologize for owning your greatness. Never apologize for that. You leave them right over there in the YouTube sewer swamp, wallowing in the gutter, making subpar content that nobody wants to watch, whining and crying about everyone and everything else who hurt them and who did this and who shot John. Leave them right over there. They will still be there 5 years from now when you look up living the life that the Lord ordained for you to live. Sometimes you just have to leave the dead, unproductive weight behind so you can spread your wings and fly. So that's my takeaway. If you want the American dream, whatever that may be for you, you cannot whine your way into existence. You got to work hard. You got to grind, and you've got to contribute something meaningful that other people find valuable. And I promise you, you will grow. And if you find yourself sympathizing with the woman in this clip, I've got news for you. You need to repent. It's time to repent of the envy. Open up a book, put your head down, and get to work, because whining doesn't pay the rent. And that's pretty much all I have for you today. So listen, I want you to let me know what you think. Can you see the spirit of covetous and envy and jealousy just permeating out of this little girl's pores? And you now see that this is why our country is now being primed and is so ripe to accept cultural Marxism and socialism, because this generation has been indoctrinated to believe that that is the way, and they've been taught to hate capitalism. Or if you are of the opinion that, she made some valid points and then it is the rich's fault, it's all of their faults, I want to hear from you too. But that's all I have for you today, you guys. I want you to hit the like button, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So until next time, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace. Thank you.